Hare Krishna, welcome to day 19 of our reading from the Krishna book. Yesterday we finished the chapter entitled Mother Yashoda Binds Lord Krishna, and this was only able to happen after Krishna was being compassionate to Mother Yashoda and let her bind him. Nobody can bind the Lord, as we know. And now further on, Krishna thought that I should do something more mischievous. And he wanted to bring down the two trees, the very tall two Arjuna trees in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj. So this was another Leela waiting to happen. He was going to deliver the two sons of Kuber, Nalakuvara and Manigriva, who were bound up as trees, was cursed by Narad Muni, and they were about to receive the highest benediction from Lord Krishna. Now they had forgotten because of the intoxication, they had forgotten their conduct in front of Narad Muni. So all this happened. So let's go to the next chapter. The Deliverance of Nalakuvara and Manigriva. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. The story of the cursing of Nalakuvara and Manigriva and the deliverance by Krishna under all blissful desires of great sage Narad is here described. The two great demigods, Nalakuvara and Manigriva, were sons of the treasurer of the demigods, Kuber, who was a very great devotee of Lord Shiva. By the grace of Lord Shiva, Kuber's material opulences had no limit. As a rich man's sons often become addicted to wine and women, so these two sons of Kuber were also addicted to wine and sex. Once these two demigods, desiring to enjoy, entered the garden of Lord Shiva in the province of Kailash on the bank of Mandakini Ganges. There they drank much and engaged in hearing the sweet singing of beautiful women who accompanied them in the garden of fragrant flowers. In an intoxicated condition, they entered the water of the Ganges, which was full of lotus flowers. And there they began to enjoy the company of the young girls, exactly as a male elephant enjoys the female elephants within the water. While they were thus enjoying themselves in the water, all of a sudden, Narada the great sage happened to pass that way. He could understand that the demigods, Nalakuvara and Manigriva, were too much intoxicated and could not even see that he was passing. The young girls, however, were not so much intoxicated as the demigods, and they at once became ashamed at being naked before the great sage Narada. They began to cover themselves with in all haste. The two demigods, son of Kuber, were so much intoxicated that they could not appreciate the presence of the sage Narad, and therefore did not cover their bodies. On seeing the two demigods so degraded by intoxication, Narada desired their welfare, and therefore he exhibited his causeless mercy upon them by cursing them. Because the great sage was compassionate upon them, he wanted to finish their false enjoyment of intoxication and association with young girls and wanted them to see Lord Krishna face to face. He conceived of cursing them as follows. He said that the attraction of what the material enjoyment is due to an increase in the mode of passion. A person in the material world, when favored by the material opulences of riches, generally becomes addicted to three things: intoxication, sex, and gambling. Materially opulent men, being pulled up by the accumulation of wealth, also become so merciless that they indulge in killing animals by opening slaughterhouses. And they think that they themselves will never die. Such foolish persons, forgetting the laws of nature, become very infatuated with the body. They forget that the material body even though very much advanced in civilization, up to the position of the demigods, will finally turn into ashes or stool. And while one is living, whatever the external condition of the body may be, within there is only stool, urine, and various kinds of worms. Thus, being engaged in jealousy and violence to other bodies, materialists cannot understand the ultimate goal of life. And without knowing this goal of life, they generally lie down to a hellish condition in their next life. Such foolish persons commit all kinds of sinful activities on account of this temporary body, and they are even unable to consider whether the body actually belongs to them. Generally, it is said that the body belongs to the persons who feed the body. One might therefore consider whether the body belongs to one personally or to the master to whom one renders service. The master of the slaves claims full right to the bodies of the slaves because the master feeds the slaves. It may also be questioned whether the body belongs to the father who is seed-giving master of this body or to the mother who develops the child in the womb. Foolish persons are engaged in committing all sorts of sins due to the misconception of identifying the material body with the self. But one should be intelligent enough to understand to whom this body belongs. A foolish person indulges in killing animals to maintain the body, but he does not consider whether this body belongs to him or to his father or to mother or maternal grandfather. Sometimes a father gives his daughter in charity to a person with a view of getting back the daughter's child as a son. The body may also be belonging to a stronger man who forces it to work for him. Sometimes a slave's body is sold to a master, and from that day on the body belongs to the master. Body belongs to the fire. Because the body is given to the fire and burned to ashes, or the body is thrown into the street to be eaten by the dogs and vultures. Before committing all kinds of sins to maintain the body, one should understand to whom the body belongs. Ultimately, it is concluded that the body is a product of material nature, and at the end, it merges into material nature. Therefore, the conclusion should be that the body belongs to material nature. One should not wrongly think that the body belongs to him. To maintain a false possession, why should one indulge in killing? Why should one kill innocent animals to maintain the body? When a man is infatuated with the false prestige of opulence, he does not care for any moral instruction, but indulges in wine, women, and animal killing. In such circumstances, a poverty-stricken man is often better situated because a poor man thinks of himself in relation to other bodies. A poor man often does not wish to inflict injuries upon the other bodies because he can understand more readily that when he himself is injured, he feels the pain. As such, the great Narad considered that because the demigods Nalakuvara and Manigriva were so infatuated by false prestige, they should be put into a condition of life devoid of opulence. A person who has a pinprick in his body does not wish others to be pricked by the pins. A considerate man in the life of poverty does not wish others to be also put into that condition. Generally, it is seen that one who has risen from a poverty-stricken life and becomes wealthy creates some charitable institution at the end of his life so that other poverty-stricken men may be benefited. In short, a compassionate poor man may consider others' pain and pleasures with empathy. A poor man is seldom puffed up with the false pride, and he may be freed from all kinds of infatuation. He may remain satisfied by whatever he gets for his maintenance by the grace of the Lord. To remain in the poverty-stricken condition is a kind of austerity or a tapasya. According to Vedic culture, therefore, the Brahmanas as a matter of routine keep themselves in a poverty-stricken condition to save themselves from the false prestige of material opulence. False prestige due to the advancement of material prosperity is a great impediment for spiritual emancipation. A poverty-stricken man cannot become unnaturally fat by eating more and more. And on account of not being able to eat more often than he requires, his senses are not very turbulent. When the senses are not very turbulent, he cannot become violent. Another advantage of poverty is that a saintly person can easily enter a poor man's house, and thus the poor man can take advantage of the saintly person's association. A very opulent man does not allow anyone to enter his house. Therefore, the saintly person cannot enter. According to the Vedic system, a saintly person takes the position of a mendicant so that on the plea of begging something from the householder, he can enter the house, any house. The householder who has usually forgotten everything about spiritual advancement because he is busy maintaining the family affairs can be benefited by the association of a saintly man. There is a great chance for the poor man to become liberated through association with the saint. Of what use are persons who are puffed up with the material opulence and prestige if they are bereft of the association of saintly persons and devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? The great sage Narada therefore thought that it was his duty to put those demigods into a condition where they could not be falsely proud of their material opulence and prestige. Narada was compassionate and wanted to save them from their fallen life. They were in the mode of darkness, and being therefore unable to control their senses, they were addicted to sex life. It was the duty of a saintly person like Narada to save them from the abominable condition. In animal life, the animal has no sense to understand that he is naked. But Kuvera was the treasurer of the demigods, a very responsible man, and Nalakuvara and Manigriva were two of his sons. And yet they became so animalistic and irresponsible that they could not understand due to intoxication that they were naked. To cover the lower part of the body is a principle of the human civilization. And when men and women forget this principle, they become no better than the animals. Narada therefore thought that the best punishment for them was to make them immovable entities or the trees. Trees by nature's law are immovable. Although trees are covered by the mote of ignorance, they cannot do harm. The great sage Narada thought it is fitting that although the brothers would be punished to become trees, by the mercy they would continue to keep their memory and be able to know why they were being punished. After changing the body, a living entity generally forgets his previous life, but in special cases, by the grace of the Lord, as with Nalakuvara and Manigriva, one can remember. Sage Narada therefore contemplated that the two demigods should remain for 100 years in time of the demigods in the form of trees. Yes, we should remember that the time of the demigods is longer than our time, our earthly time. And that after that they would be fortunate enough to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face by his causeless mercy. And thus they would be again promoted to the life of the demigods and become great devotees of the Lord. After this, the great sage Narada returned to his abode known as Narayan Ashram, and the two demigods turned into trees known as the twin Arjuna trees. The two demigods were favored by the causeless mercy of Narada and given a chance to grow in the courtyard of Nanda Baba and see Lord Krishna face to face. Okay, we shall continue our katha on Monday from here onwards. And as you will keep hearing this narration, how these two demigods, the son of Nalakuvara and Manigriva, will get delivered. you will understand the causeless mercy of the God, how sometimes He overlooks our ignorances and the shortcomings, and sometimes our misfortune can also be a very fortunate state when we can achieve the highest stages of the bhakti or highest stages of liberation. So we shall meet again on Monday, and hope you all have a very wonderful weekend ahead. Enjoy yourself with your families. Enjoy the quality time with your family and the loved ones. I'll put a link for the retreat which is happening Saturday and Sunday, organized by the ISKCON Birmingham. If any of you would like to be part of it, it will be done mostly via Zoom. So the link, you have to get registered to get the link to join this, and you can listen as much less or more you wish to during the weekend. It will cover Ayurveda, yoga, classes from very exalted speakers. There is Amrinder Das Prabhu as well from Boston speaking, and many of our local UK participants will be also there. So look forward to seeing you all again on Monday. Hare Krishna. Take care.